I want to tell you this, well, at this point, I think it's almost like a folk tale. And I really wanted to tell you this story because it took place here in Melbourne. And it's about one of your own. So I figured this is the place to tell this story. The time we came out here to do the Livid Festival in November '95, a couple of weeks before we came out here, I was in Los Angeles, and I got a phone call from a local TV crew from here. I don't know the channel, I forget the channel, but I got this call, and they said, we saw that you're coming to Melbourne very soon, and we've been covering the case of this young man named Marius Bannister, who's at the local hospital here, and he's battling leukemia. And he's been on our channel a few times, and we're covering him and rooting for him. And recently we asked him, make a wish, or say 5 things you want. And he talked about how cool it would be if he could meet you. And we're wondering if you could take time out of your very busy schedule to go to the hospital and meet Marius. Maybe sign a photo or to shake his hand or give him a T-shirt or something. I said, man, I am there. Gave him my manager's phone number. I said, here's the man to call, set it up, I will be there. Not knowing at all what I was going to say to this guy, but absolutely refusing not to do it. I mean, how are you not going to do it? How are you too busy to have time to hang out with a 17-year-old boy battling leukemia? I said, I will be there. And I immediately got really nervous after I hung up the phone. Like, oh my God, man. Whew, that's really heavy. I've never done anything like that before. So weeks go by, we play next door at the Palace, and the next day is a day off, and the TV guys come to the hotel, and they said, okay, here we go. And I went down to this hospital, they go up the elevator, and I'm standing outside of Marius's door with the head nurse and Marius's grandmother. And the nurse says, here, you gotta wash your hands. And she produces this this container of this yellow-green liquid, and I dunk my hands in, I'm scrubbing up, and I'm like, why am I doing this? She said, well, Marius is going through chemotherapy, and the germs on your hands can infect him because his resistance is down. That's what chemotherapy does. I'm like, right, I know that. So I'm scrubbing my hands up, and she says, I don't think he knows you're in town today. I don't think he's expecting any visitors, so this will be a bit of a surprise. My stomach just turns into a knot. I was nervous already. I'm like, oh man. Okay. And she goes, are you ready? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I'm getting all jittery. And she knocks on the door and opens it and says, Marius, are you awake? And I hear this voice go, yes. You have a visitor. Can he come in? And I hear this voice go, okay. She opens the door and said, go meet Marius. I'm like, oh boy. Whew. I walk in, I make a left, and I see this boy sitting on a bed, no hair, and these tubes coming out of him. And he sees me, and I see him, and he sits up, his eyes go wide, he looks at me and says, fuck! And I'm looking at this guy, and the nurse had told me before I went in there, she said, the chemotherapy has made, the inside of his mouth ulcerate a little, so he may bleed a little when he talks to you, and he doesn't have any hair, so he looks a little beat up, but don't worry, you can handle it. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, Marius had no hair, and his lips were kind of dry, and I'm like, whoa, what an intense-looking guy. And the one thing I couldn't do was lie. I didn't know what I was going to talk to him about or say to him, but I knew I couldn't lie, because someone in that position, they can read bullshit like that fast. And so I just kind of looked at him, and he went, fuck, and I went, how you doing, Marius? My name is Henry Rollins. Heard you needed to talk to me. So he could think, when Marius Bannister needs something. Hank Rollins flies 14 hours when he hears the call, God damn it. Sat down on the edge of his bed, shook his hand, looked around the room thinking, okay, where do I go from here? And all I could do is tell the truth. I looked around the room and went, Marius, this room is fucked. And I was hoping he would laugh and not go, why are you telling me this? And he was so brave. He goes, yeah, I hate this place. And we both started laughing because the room is really dingy and the curtains are drawn and the place is tiny and the bed takes up most of the space and it sucked. And I went, oh man, this place is the worst. He goes, I hate this place, man, I hate it. And he's laughing, I'm laughing, I'm like digging this guy immediately. And so I go, so what's a day in this place like? And he goes, well, everyone comes to visit me, friends from school, grandma, mom, you know, nurses, nuns, everybody comes in here and they read to me and they give me a cool towel for my head, and everyone's great to me, and I try and be in a good mood when they're here so they feel okay. But when visiting hours are over, they leave, and I spend the night by myself, and it's hard for me to sleep. I said, why? He said, because if I'm going to die, I want to die with my eyes open. I don't want to die when I'm asleep. I have never had anybody in my life say anything that intense to me ever, especially coming out of the mouth of a 17-year-old. And you guys, you know how we are. We say all kinds of tough macho shit all the time. Honey, I want to die with my boots on. That's the kind of guy I am. Here's this 17-year-old kid, you know, obviously pretty shook up that he's in this hospital, looking at me saying, if I'm going to die, I want to die while I'm awake. I'm not going to die when I'm asleep. Man, that was so intense. I realized immediately, he's the teacher, I'm the student, he's the mountain, I'm the molehill. And I'm sitting at the foot of his bed like, oh no, where do we go from here? I want to start asking him advice. Marius, I can't get laid, what do I do? You know, I'm an aging alternative icon, where can I go from here? Help me, Marius. So I'm looking around the room, you know, looking for something to talk about. And I see all these photos of bands against the wall taped up there. And the biggest one I can see with my bad eyesight is the picture of the Beastie Boys taken from some magazine. And I go, the Beastie Boys! And he's like, yeah? Looking at me like I'm nuts, because all of a sudden I just ejaculated, the Beastie Boys, out of nowhere. He thinks I'm a Looney Tune. I go, I know them, hoping he won't say, so? Hoping he'll go, really? And he said, you do? I went, yeah. They're my favorite band. And the poor guy immediately had to qualify it. But you guys are cool. I said, don't worry about it, man. It's okay to have a favorite band that I'm not in. You know, it's okay, but, you know, it's cool. Not that okay, but we'll tolerate it. And he goes, man, those guys are so great. I go, yeah, they are great. He goes, you know them? I go, oh, yeah. Wow. I said, I've toured with them. You've toured with them? I said, yeah. So I told him like these tour stories about going out with the Beastie Boys and how cool they are, because they are really cool people. One of the easiest tours ever, because they're all smart, they're all funny, and when they hit stage, they kick some huge ass nightly. And I would watch them almost every night. I'd play, shower off, eat some food, and get right on the side of the stage and stand next to their monitor man and just get into it. And it was the funnest. And I'm telling him stories, and I'm making him laugh, because we had Cypress Hill on this tour as well. So it was a hell of a bill, and every night Cypress would open, then we'd play, and then the Beastie Boys would, you know, kick it. And watching Cypress Hill every night is just amazing, because that guy B Real is just the man. That voice, his whole thing, like halfway through their set, like the plug in the DAT player would come loose, and the set would come to an immediate halt. You know, doog, doog, doog. And most bands are like, oh no. You know, a band like us, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong, you know, we'd be faking it. Their thing is, you know, the DJ, 2 microphones, and a DAT machine. It's a very simple setup, so when one thing goes wrong, it's very apparent, because there's only like 5 working things on stage. And so the DAT machine goes off and the music goes away, and there's silence on stage. And instead of going like, you know, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, B Real just comes to the edge and says, guess what, y'all? What? We fucked up. The crowd loves him for this. He has them in the palm of his hand. I want y'all to say, Cypress Hill, y'all fucked up. Cypress Hill, y'all fucked up. All right, I think we got this shit plugged in. All right. And they go right back into it, and they just kill everyone. They're amazing. And so I'm cracking up Marius, and I'm telling him these stories, and I'm putting a smile on his face, which I imagine is my job, you know, to cheer the guy up, because he's sitting in this room all day, and, you know, I want to break him out of that for a minute and make him forget it for a second and have a laugh on me. And so I'm telling him these stories, as many stories as I can think of, and I'm giving him some shit because he missed the show the night before, and I thought we played pretty good. I go, so where were you last night? In bed, right? He's like, yeah. I said, you didn't come to the show. What's the matter with you? You don't like me? He's like, no, man, look at me. Come on, I got tubes coming out of me. I'm like, it's really not much of an excuse. You know, we're playing here in about a year. You will be on the guest list for the show. You're showing up, right? He's like, oh, yeah, I swear to God I'll be there. I said, okay, because I didn't see you last night. And next time you don't show up, I'm just going to come and kick your ass. You know, I'll kick your ass in front of your friends. It'll be really embarrassing for you. And he's like, no, man, I swear to God, I'm going to make it. I said, that's good, that's good. Don't make me come over there. And so we talked a while longer, and then I kind of ran out of steam because the intensity of this room is a lot to deal with. The specter of imminent death leans over the two of us. I mean, leukemia is a tough one to beat. And the young man has got a good chance, but man, there's a good chance you're not going to come out of there too. And I'm very aware of that I'm sitting in the room with a very brave 17-year-old guy with more balls than I will ever possess, put up against an adversary I have not ever been anywhere near matched up to. And he's just pulling it off with this amazing flintiness, and he's got humor, and he's got a lot of class, and he's a sharp guy. And I'm like sitting there knowing I'm outmatched by a 17-year-old, and I'm like, damn. This is a stone-cold honor hanging out with this guy. But the death thing is there. I mean, that's why he's in this room. They're trying to keep him alive. It's not like he has a cold or something. It's fucking leukemia, man. And so I kind of ran out of steam. I was like, And I kind of sagged to one side. And he, being the stronger of the two of us, he helped me out. He said, Henry, you know, I appreciate you coming by, but, you know, I got some stuff I need to do pretty soon. So I'm like, yeah, you know, me too. I got stuff I got to do. You got stuff you got to do. We're both guys with a lot of stuff to do. And I said, okay, so, well, I'll leave you to it. And the nurse came in and took a photo of us. And we shook hands, and we exchanged addresses. And I said, okay, Marius, now that I got your address, you know I know how to come over to your house and kick your ass if you don't show up to my gig next time. I said, you got to get out of this place, Marius. Fuck leukemia. You're way stronger than leukemia. I know you're going to beat this. Do you know you're going to beat this? He goes, absolutely. I go, we're betting on that. So we bet on it. I said, I'll see you next time. Absolutely. He goes, that's right. I said, okay, Marius. And I walked out of there, and his grandmother was there. She said, and she's, oh, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm like, oh, save it. You know, I got time for this. It's okay. And I walked around St. Kilda for the rest of the afternoon just tripping on this guy and his bravery. And not with this sentiment of, oh, I love life and every day is a blessing, you know, but it is. But I'm just thinking, what an extraordinary circumstance transforms an average 17-year-old kid who has an interest in judo and surfing and his friends and all youthful 17-year-old boy pursuits. What transforms a guy like this from the average student boy in Australia to this amazing, charismatic guy staring at a pretty intense reality. And it's a horrible circumstance that makes you or breaks you. And it's interesting to be around someone who's riding the wave of sheer terror and getting a tan. I mean, the guy is amazing. And so I just thought about him the whole time I was here, got back to America a few days later, did a bunch of university speaking dates, and I was talking about this guy I just met named Marius Bannister, going, man, coolest guy I met this year. And like, whoa, what a man. And a couple of months later, I get a letter from Marius's mother in the mail, and it's a card with a letter inside it. And the card has a picture of Marius in his schoolboy outfit. And I was looking at it going, Marius, check out that tie and that cap. That Australian schoolboy outfit's hilarious, you know? It's what makes Australian men so intense. They spend their youth growing up in hot pants. And by the time they're in their late teens, they're really aggro. Looking at my pants, mate, bam, they're just tough. It's those pants that makes you tough. All that, you know, kidding around the schoolyard. So anyway, looking at Marius with his tie on and everything, and it says underneath his photo, you know, Marius Bannister, born into eternity, and had some date where Marius died. He died a little while after I visited him. And then I open up the letter, and it's from his mother, and she said, thank you for meeting my son. I don't know what you all talked about, but you certainly gave him a lot to ponder, and he really liked meeting you, and it was, thank you so much. We know you're a busy guy, and you're on tour, and we can't believe you took the time and made the time. And I don't know what people think I'm doing on these tours. I mean, yeah, I'm busy. Aren't you busy? We're all busy, but there's certain things that are priority. And she said, you know, thank you very much. Can't tell you how much it meant to us that you came and did this. So I wrote her a letter back, and I said, just so you know, I met your son for an hour